Hey guys, Big Paul here today. We got another Q&A lined up for the Anabolic Bodybuilding YouTube channel. Today on the Q&A we have, is whey protein inferior? Are fats necessary for your diet? My thoughts on fasted cardio versus post-workout cardio. GH doses for our first-time user. Least cardiotoxic compounds you can use on a cycle. How to minimize fat gain in the off-season hypertrophy phase. And is drinking while on gear a bad thing? We're going to talk about it all. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. So the first question we got today comes from Micah Lee. I actually got two questions from Micah that I liked, so we'll do his first two questions. So first question that Micah has, is there any inferiority to whey protein when it comes to the actual quality of it? Almost all my protein is from chicken, but I like to have it all measured portion and would prefer to add a protein through a fat-free source. There's no, I mean, amino acid profile of a good quality whey protein is fine. That's not the issue. I know I had Justin Harris on and talked about it. The issue with whey protein is that your body, there's a couple things. Your body digests it super quickly. So what ends up happening is, all those amino acids get in your system within, the first 30 to 45 minutes and they're gone. And you're not, muscle protein metabolism doesn't happen that fast, so, you could take, there's some ways around this. You could do things to slow it down, add some fat to it. You mix it up with some other food that potentially could slow the digestion of it down. You could sip on your drink for a while or get like a casein source, but casein is fucking awful for anybody who's ever eaten casein. It's like drinking chalk. I hate it. I'm not, I think people think that I'm anti-protein powder. I'm not anti-protein powder. I'm anti-using it as a crutch. I think a lot of guys use it as a crutch because they're just too lazy to cook their goddamn food in food prep. And real food is always a better option. Remember, it's a supplement. It is to supplement your diet. It shouldn't be your primary food source. Look, I'll be honest. I eat protein powder here and there. One of the things I like to do is mix it up with some oats, a little bit of peanut butter, and I'll put some whey protein in it, which will slow it down, and it's just a good, quick, easy meal. Another issue guys run into with whey proteins, and even if you get a good whey isolate that has the majority of the lactose removed from it, is a lot of people have intolerances to whey over time. I know I do. I can only get away with it maybe once a day. And sometimes only once every couple days, and then I start having all sorts of stomach issues. It'll give me diarrhea, it'll bloat me up, it'll make me fart, which when your body is doing that, that's a message that something is not right. So just some things to be mindful of. If you're eating it 3 meals a day, not good. If you're just having it now and then, or in a pinch, or maybe post-workout, that's fine. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. People that I coach, I prefer them to eat real food. I think real food's always better. I've seen it, in physiques. The guys that eat real food have better looking physiques. They just do, for the most part. And I know everybody's going to say Hunter Labrada. I'm pretty sure Hunter Labrada could mow lawns and eat whatever and look pretty good. He just has elite genetics. There are always exceptions to the rule. And he's also young. He's very young. I could eat a lot of shitty things when I was younger that I can't eat now. I just can't get away with. I used to be able to pound eggs. I used to be able to dump hot sauce all over everything. I used to be able to drink coffee all day long. Stuff like that fucks my stomach up now. I could do when I was 25. So that also plays a role in it as well. So just use it judiciously. It is a complete protein source. It's okay in a pinch. It's a supplement. Just remember that. It should not be your primary source of protein in your diet. All right, second question here from Micah Lee again. This was also another good one. How necessary are fats in general, but especially when using insulin. Obviously, fat isn't the best thing when using insulin, but how low fat should or can your diet be? Yeah, now you do need a certain amount of fats in your diet for just for your body to function properly. EFAs are essential fatty acids. Essential meaning that your body can't make them on its own. Just like essential amino acids, they're a nutrient that your body cannot make on its own. So EFAs include both omega-6s and omega-3s fatty acids. They're used in the body to create prostaglandins. They also serve important metabolic roles in providing necessary building blocks for the body's normal growth, cellular repair, and normal function. EFAs are essential to life, and they cannot be manufactured by the body or found. So they need to be found through either supplementation, you take an fish oil pill or something like that, or through foods. Now you don't need a ton of them. I've read studies. I think you only need a couple grams of EFAs a day, just to maintain, bodily function. But keep in mind we are athletes that are pushing ourselves, so we probably need more than the normal person does. Saturated fats are the ones that you want to avoid when you're bodybuilding. These are the ones that are really, they're just used for energy. They also contribute to heart disease and arteriosclerosis. So we want to avoid those where possible. So the way I like to structure my diets is to keep the protein sources as lean as possible. When I'm having a high carbohydrate meal, I keep the fats as close to zero as possible. Maybe a little bit of EFAs. I'll add just a little bit of fish oil pill or some, a little bit of olive oil, just a tiny little bit, or some nuts. On high insulin days, so I limit my days to the high days. When I'm pounding insulin, I try to keep the fats as close to zero as possible. Get my EFAs in on the meals where I'm not pounding insulin. So as those are not stored as fat, when you're having abundance of carbohydrates, you're taking insulin. More than likely, any excess fats that you need beyond metabolic function are just going to get stored as adipose tissue. So that's kind of my take on it. You don't need a ton of fat in your diet, but you do need some. We want to minimize saturated fats to protect our heart and our cardiovascular system and to keep our body composition. Well, I know a lot of dudes, I see a lot of guys that come to me that have high fat diets. I don't know what it is, but I've had so many guys come to me that are eating a shit ton of chicken thighs. Chicken thighs are just loaded with fat. So you got to get that shit out of your diet. You got to eat lean red meat. I get 95% or leaner ground beef. Sometimes I'll even rinse it out in the sink to get the excess out. I stick with chicken breast. I stick with cod. Those are really my three primary protein sources. I used to be able to eat egg whites, but they tear my stomach up now. I can't really do that anymore. Occasionally I'll have a protein shake. Occasionally, but or mix it in with some oatmeal. But whey protein also upsets my stomach. All right. Next question we have here from Sub-Zero. What's your opinion on fasted cardio versus post-weight training cardio? When you look at the studies on it, it's at the end of the day, it's about net energy balance. But I swear to God, I get more out of fasted cardio. I know it's probably in my head, and I think it's just an old school bodybuilding thing. I have seen studies that show proportionally that the calories burned, that more of it comes from fat when you're fasted. But at the end of the day, it's net energy balance. It's calories in, calories out when it comes to fat loss. Sometimes I'm lazy and just don't want to do my cardio post workout, so I get up in the morning and do it. That's one of the reasons why. I'm sorry, lazy, and I don't want to get up in the morning and do my cardio, so I do it post-workout instead. But I also, part of me too wonders if you're better off, if you're optimizing your weight performance, not doing the cardio post-lift and use that time for recovery from your lift, get nutrients in so you recover, and then use your morning time as your time for cardio. But then there's another part of me too that wonders if you're doing cardio in a fasted state, if you're not burning up some muscle too. That's an issue because you're depleted. There might not be amino acids present in your system at that time. So who knows? I don't know. At the end of the day, it's net calorie balance. I've tried it both ways, and weight loss doesn't really seem to be much different. But I swear to God that fasted cardio does burn a little more fat. At least it seems like that to me anecdotally. I know the science doesn't line up with it, but that's my 2 cents on that. So next question is from Lie Strong 631. What dose would you recommend someone taking growth hormone for the first time, just for fat loss and general well-being? I would probably start off with 1 to 2 units, see how that does for you. If you're not getting neuropathy, or your hands getting numb, carpal tunnel, bloating, things like that, see how you respond. For me, I found the sweet spot is somewhere around 6 units where I get the most out of it. I break it up into 2 doses, 3 in the morning, 3 at night. Morning for fat burning, nighttime for hypertrophy is kind of the rule of thumb. I've pushed higher than 6 units before. I've gone up to as much as 10. When I get to 8, my hands they get so painful I can't sleep, and my I can't hold on to the bar. I can't play my guitar. So to me, it's not worth it. I also noticed that my fasting blood glucose rises rapidly. Once I get above 8 or above, that I really have to push the metformin to manage my insulin sensitivity. So 6 units seems to be the sweet spot for me. For a beginner, 1 to 2 units. If you're just a lifestyle lifter, or you're just doing it for life extension purposes, then I would stick with just 1 to 2 units is plenty. Next question from FMAC. What are the least cardiotoxic compounds a person can take for a bulk, recomp, and prep cycles? Well, that it's different for each. Really, I think the universal stack that's probably the least cardiotoxic would be testosterone, growth hormone, and Primable, and run in responsible doses. Making sure that you're using an ARB, probably telmisartan in there to manage cardiac remodeling and keeping your blood pressure low. You also want to make sure that your lipids aren't skewed, so maybe taking something like ezetimibe to keep your lipids in check, to protect your heart, so making sure your blood pressure is good. Primable makes my blood pressure go up sometimes. That's about the only side effect I get from it, but it does raise my blood pressure. So the ARB seems to be a necessity for Primable, and so just something to keep in mind. But really you could run the Primable test GH stack year round for it doesn't matter if it's recomp, prep, bulk. Really the difference between bulk, recomp, and prep, to be honest with you, is diet and cardio. At the end of the day, you can get lean on pretty much anything, really, as long as your estrogen is in check. There are certain compounds that do contribute to better body composition, but they tend to be the more toxic ones, like tren. So if you're worried about toxicity, then I would stay away from shit like tren and Winstrol, and the more toxic stuff like that. So I just probably the safest compounds are test, Primobolan as your anabolic, and then just GH. Really, just keep it simple. That's my 2 cents on that one. All right, next question here from RL979. Thank you for the question. What did you change in your experience on how to minimize fat gain in the off-season, diet, training, cycle, etc.? And do you plan on changing something again in your next off-season? Wouldn't mind hearing a quick rundown of your carb cycling in the off season. Yeah, so I probably should do a detailed video of the carb cycling in the off season. Justin and I have talked about it on some videos, but when I get back to my off season this year, I'll do some videos about where I'm at. So I think the big things I changed this past year, one, I got very, very lean for my contest prep. So you have more runway to gain fat, and you are going to put on fat, adipose tissue as you gain muscle. It's just part of it. But if your starting point is lower, like let's say if you're starting off at 4.5 or 5% body fat, you put on 5% body fat while you're gaining muscle, you're still at 10%. You put on 7%, you're still at 12. You put on 10%, you're still at 15 or 14.5. So you got a lot of runway to put on some fat. Whereas if you're already at 20%, you don't have much room. I mean, you don't want to run from 20 up to 30. So I think once your body fat gets above 15%, roughly saying, I think you're getting too fat to be doing a hypertrophy phase. I really think you need to take some time, pull your weight back down, and then you got some runway to put on size. Another thing that I changed this off season, and this is a big thing, I think, is I was more compliant with the diet. I know that sounds simple, but I didn't fuck up on the diet. I wasn't eating a bunch of shit food. I did take a vacation, and I kind of just ate whatever I wanted when I went on vacation for a week. But outside of that, I was very compliant with the diet. I didn't cheat. I stuck to what my coach sent me, and I think that's another thing where people fuck up in the off season is they eat a bunch of shitty, fatty food, thinking that somehow that's going to contribute to muscle growth. You cannot convince me that eating donuts and pizza and drinking beer and eating high-fat foods are a positive for physique. I just don't buy into the whole dirty bulk thing. You can't tell me that eating a cheeseburger and French fries is more productive for your physique than eating a piece of salmon and some rice. It's just not. Now, I'm not saying that we have to be warriors all the time and eat clean. I mean, I enjoy my cheat meals, but they're more for psychological reasons than they are for physiological reasons. So staying compliant with the diet is another aspect of it. Another thing I did too is I'm getting older. I don't think my body produces insulin like it did when I was younger, and my insulin sensitivity is not as good as it was when I was younger. So I ran Lantus, a basal insulin all off season to help kind of take the pressure off my endogenous insulin production and to assist with that. I also made sure I ran metformin and berberine daily to keep my insulin sensitivity high. And I used human log on my high days, and while maintaining a low-fat diet. And I think the combination of all those was an improvement to body, aided an improvement to body composition because my body was making better use of the nutrients that I was putting in it. So I think that also made a difference. Anyway, so summing it up, one, don't get too fat. Give yourself some runway. And if you are fat, then take a time to do a cut first, then do a hypertrophy phase. Second, stay compliant with your diet. Don't eat like shit. And then third, manage insulin sensitivity and insulin. Those are the three big things I think that were the difference makers in staying lean in the off season. All right. Next question from Unstoppable. I already know this, but I think more guys need to hear about it. What are your thoughts on drinking while on cycle is a bad idea? Well, I know I've talked about it before. Poison is in the dose. That's toxicology 101, dose and duration, if we're going to be technical about it. So having 2 beers on a Saturday night while you're on cycle is not going to fucking kill you. All right. If you're going out with your girlfriend or your partner or whatever on a Saturday night and you're having dinner and you want to have a cocktail or a glass of wine, that's cool. That's not going to be enough to kill you. All right. If you're going out and partying like a frat boy all weekend, getting hammered Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, and your body's already under stress from, running high doses of PEDs, or maybe you're using orals, that's a bad idea. And part of it's relative to how much gear you're taking too. If you're running high doses of toxic compounds, that's going to be an issue. If you're running, you're just doing TRT, that's different. So some of it's relative. My advice would be, don't drink while you're on cycle. Don't take orals, things that are going to stress your body out. You got to remember, your body can only handle so much stress before it breaks. So the more toxic the compounds are, the higher the doses are. There's secondary factors like sleep, stress. It's like drinking too. If a Miller Lite versus drinking tequila, those two are putting completely different stress on your body. So, having one Miller Lite or two Miller Lights versus drinking a bottle of fucking tequila is a completely different level of stress. So think about your body in terms of, it has a meter of how much stress you can put it under. And then if you exceed that, then things are going to break. You're not allowing yourself time to recover. And also, if you're adding additional stress, how are you going to recover from your workouts and grow? So, moral of the story is, a little bit is not going to kill you. That's fine. I'm not telling people they need to completely abstain. I personally don't drink. I can count the number of drinks I've had in the last year on one hand. I just don't like it. I don't like the way it makes me feel. It's not aiding me in my goals. I don't like the feeling of being drunk. I just don't. I'm kind of, it's funny for using gear. I'm pretty boring otherwise. I don't use rec drugs. I don't, maybe I'll have some THC once in a blue moon, but I don't use rec drugs. I don't drink. I live a pretty boring, clean life outside of the gear. That's probably why I've been able to get away with some of it, but just something to keep in mind. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. If you enjoyed this stuff, please hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. If you want to get in contact with me about coaching or a consulting call to make sure you're doing your shit correctly, spend a little bit of money, make sure you're doing it right. If you're going to buy all that fucking gear, why not just spend a little extra and make sure that you're doing shit correctly? You can book a consultation or ongoing coaching at my website, www.anabolicbodybuilding.com, or you can contact me at my email, which is in the video description. Take care.